literary friends, I'm Anna and thank you for joining me on my channel today. Today we are talking about pitching. Pitching is something you can do with both agents and publishers. So pitching is essentially the act of explaining your manuscript or novel to another professional in the hope that they will pick it up to sell it for you. Pitching is something that can be a very nerve-wracking experience, especially if you are unprepared. Pitching to agents and publishers is slightly different. There are a few things that you have in common. And my first point is, if you are nervous, find a coach. I found Dr. Rachel Grosvenor and she changed my life as a writer. I will include her details below, but here are some tips and tricks that she and I worked through that may help you when it comes to pitching your own work. As lame as it may sound, preparation is key. The first thing you'll want to state is the title of your work and the word count. So in my case, it was The Invisible Woman by Anna Winson with a word count of 80,363 words. The next thing that you do, they will either ask you to start or you can just roll straight on into it. Keeping in mind that in some pitching situations, you will only have about 90 seconds to convince them to ask you more questions. If they don't like what you pitch in the initial section, they may say thank you and move along. So you need to make the most of it. And this is why they call it an elevator pitch. It's what you would sell someone if you only had an elevator ride with them to convince them why they should pick up your manuscript or your work. Aim with your pitch is to make sure that you get the storyline as concise as possible and include as much of the necessary detail as you can, as quickly as possible. Like I said, I sought external help for this because it was my first time pitching for my first novel and I had no idea what would constitute necessary information to include. If you were in that same boat, I highly recommend it. There is nothing wrong with asking for help, and I honestly think that it made all the difference when it came to my pitching and my confidence because I knew that my coach had experience and knew what it was that my agent and my editor would be looking for. Once you've pitched your elevator pitch, if the agent or publisher likes what you've told them, they may ask you for more information. This is where you can expand a little bit on the information that is in the remainder of your synopsis. You can talk a little bit more in depth about your characters or a little bit more in depth about the story. This is also the time that if your book is part of a series, you can mention here that there are additional books available in the story arc. I had a series of questions that my coach and I worked through, and I made sure that I had predetermined answers for a whole series of questions because when you only have 3 to 5 minutes after your first elevator pitch, you want to make the most of that time. And if you're spending that time thinking, oh, hang on, let me think about that, you're going to run out of time very quickly. When you're preparing, here are my top 5 questions to prepare answers for. Number 1, tell me about yourself. It sounds incredibly basic, but like I said, I'm the kind of person who I immediately forget what I'm talking about when I'm put on the spot. So, have some answers ready. Question number 2. What books are comparable to your manuscript? Now, we did talk about this one in the definitions video. If you haven't checked that out, I will link it below. This is asking for what other work is currently in the public sphere that they could recommend or relate to something that readers are looking for. It gauges 2 things: what readers are after and how you relate to that, and how they can sell it and who they can sell it to. If you haven't established what other genre, writer, or titles your work relates to, find yourself a reader and ask them. Get them to read through your manuscript and get them to give you some feedback if you cannot figure it out for yourself. So in my situation, The Invisible Woman, I have had readers come back and most similarly link it to The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot and Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. They are two very prominent titles that a lot of people across several generations have heard of. It's key to pick something that you know that an agent or publisher will recognize. Extra points if you can find an author in their list. If you find a comparable title that they already promote or they already publish, you are one step ahead. Number 3, who is your target audience? These people work in the commercial world. They want to know who they can sell your product to. So if you tell them that you think anyone can read it, they're unlikely to believe that you have done your due diligence and your research into what kind of genre and what kind of audience you're writing to. So in my situation, The Invisible Woman is written specifically to 18 to 35 women. It is contemporary women's fiction. The benefit I have had having self-published is that I can also tell agents and publishers that I have had readers from 16 to 85 of both genders and had good feedback on both sides. Number 4, what's next? 2 very simple words that have so much weight to them. What's next? An agent or publisher is always keen to know what you have coming up next, because if they sign your book and it does well, they want to know if you're already in the works for something else that they can continue to churn out. They are there to make money. If you make them money, they want more of it. So if you can tell them that your book is finished and you've started writing something else, or you have another work in progress that's close to completion, it's an excellent start. If your answer is, no, I don't have anything, or I'm not even thinking about it, find an articulate way of explaining that. You could just say, I have a few ideas in the works and I'm about to dive in now that I've finished this project. Don't just tell them that you have no idea and you have no direction and you haven't planned on doing anything. Unless it is the truth and you're planning on being a one-hit wonder. Then honesty and authenticity, go for it. Once you've made your pitch, if the agent or publisher are interested in what you have explained to them, they will ask to see some or all of your manuscript. They'll give you details on how to send it through, or they will advise you that they'll be in touch. When you get this opportunity, make the most of it. Be prompt, timely, and make sure that you include everything that they ask for. They are not going to chase you for more information. If they ask for the first 3 chapters of your book and a synopsis and your author bio, and you do not send them the chapters, the synopsis, and the bio, they will not ask you again. So make sure that when you're putting this professional foot forward, you are selling yourself as a small business. Be the best version of yourself. Make sure it is polished, make sure that it is ready, and make sure you have that in advance. If they tell you they'd like you to send it through, but you haven't written a synopsis and you don't have an author bio, and it takes you a week to stop stressing about it before you send it through to them, it doesn't look good because it means you were very unprepared. Businesses like working with people who are prepared and organized. That is not to say that you cannot be yourself and be a bit freewheeling, but it means that if you know that you have a pitch booked, make sure that you have those things ready. A bio, a synopsis, and your chapters that you are going to send them. In some cases, they will ask to see the whole manuscript, and that depends on what genre it is that you write in. If, for example, you have pitched something you haven't written yet, so say it's a memoir or a biography or a cookbook, those are different situations, and they may ask for everything that you have up until that point. But when you're talking about genre, Usually they'll ask you for the first few chapters or for the whole manuscript. Remember, when you're at the pitching point, you are essentially operating as a small business. You are selling yourself to these people. You want them to take your product, which is your manuscript or your book. They still want to see who you are as a person, but they also want to know that you are someone and something that they can sell to the general public. Once you have sent everything through to your agent or publisher, you may not receive a response from them. They may see it pop up in their inbox and go, great, it's there, and they will continue on with their day. Unless you get an auto reply or a bounce back that says that it did not go through, you do not need to contact them again to check that they have received it. They will let you know. So now you just have to sit and wait. Hopefully you will hear back from them. They will want to see your whole manuscript, or they will want to start negotiating with you about edits. You've pitched, you've emailed, and now we wait. Some agents or publishers will let you know what their wait time is for a response. Some may not. If you hear back from them in a short time, it can be a really good thing. It cannot be such a great thing. But if they only ask for a few chapters and you do hear back from them and they ask for more, make sure that you have your whole manuscript ready to send through to them. Same thing, preparation is key. Make sure it's ready in case they want it. If you don't hear back from them, they may or may not have told you that there's a certain window. You may be able to give them a prompt after, say, 8 weeks to just check if they need anything further from you. But if you don't hear from them, you can just wait it out. Sometimes in this industry, things take months and months and months. So if they've given you an indication of timing, make sure that you wait that period of time before you reach out to them to check if they need anything else. They don't need you to harass them. It will not bode well for you when it comes to working relations. So that concludes the video about pitching to an agent or a publisher for new writers. If you liked this video, please rain down those likes. And if you want to see more content like this, please make that bell ring and hit the subscribe button.